We are going to record, which means your pictures will be on the video that's available. And if you don't want that, be sure to shut your video off. So hello and welcome. A happy fall equinox. I'm so glad that you took the time to be here today. I know many of you came from another class. Some of you are going to another class. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm Camille Albrecht. Many of you know me, but for those of you who aren't familiar with my background, just a little bit, I want to share with you about me. My entire adult life, I've been a student and a teacher of Julian teachings. And before I became full-time as a metaphysician, I got my degree in social work and then began to work as a probation officer for adult male felon offenders. I then went into administration with the Department of Corrections, training parole and probation officers, and then worked inside the prisons as an assistant deputy warden. I worked in the prisons for many years and then left there to work at Catholic Charities in child abuse prevention. So my work today continues with the Julian Teachings Organization. And I work as a medium, an astrologer with tarot and with Kabbalah. I love what I do, and I'm grateful for all of you that I've come to know and love. Today, I'm honored to be joined by three incredibly bright and talented women. Jan Clayton, who is co-leader of the Julian Teachings Organization and wizard of technology. Jan is going to monitor the class, the chat room, and offer any technical assistance. So Jan's got some suggestions now. So Jan, I'm going to turn it over to you.
I'm going to be muting most of you fairly shortly, and I would prefer, or we would prefer you stay muted. And if you end up asking a question, we'll talk about questions in a second. Please mute yourself again afterwards. There's enough of you, it's going to be hard for me to keep track of all of you and mute you myself. If you have any issues, I will put my telephone number right now in the chat so that you can call me or text me or whatever, and I can try to help, but it's a little hard remotely at this point. And the only other thing is I think the speakers on the whole don't want to be interrupted because we have such a short time period. So please hold your questions, put them in the chat. I'll be giving them to you, or we will prompt people to ask questions a little bit later. Anything else, Camille?
Well, if you'd like, I can go ahead and mute everyone and then they can unmute themselves. All right, so I'm going to mute everyone. And then you can unmute yourself when you have questions. So thank you, Jan. And now I'd like to introduce Annemarie McClellan. Is there a way to highlight Annemarie?
Jan, I can wave.
You are Annemarie. Annemarie is a trained statistician. She has her master's degree in mathematics and an MBA. Annemarie serves as the Director of Clinical Operations for a clinical trials consortium at Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus, Ohio. She's also deeply involved with the League of Women Voters, having served as president of her local chapter for several years. Her leadership in combating gerrymandering in Wisconsin played a vital role in the successful redistricting of legislative boundaries in 2024. So congratulations, Annemarie, for your hard work. Next, I'd like to introduce Angela Sanders. If we can highlight Angela. There she is. Angela Sanders is a mindfulness-based educator, speaker, and the founder of Mindful Minds. She's dedicated to creating and delivering engaging and effective programs that help individuals, groups, and organizations experience the transformational power of mindfulness and positivity thinking. Her training includes Brown University and UC San Diego MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction training, teacher training, and qualification. Mindful Schools, K through 12 teacher training, and the University of North Carolina Positive Psychology Professional Certificate. Angela has taught hundreds of people throughout the country to meditate and cultivate a positive mindset. She's delivered mindfulness talks and positivity workshops, as I've said, throughout the country and in her community. And Angela says she's delighted anytime she can share these powerful techniques with others. So welcome. I'm thrilled we're doing this today. And how about if we get started? Sound good? Thank you. So these are really challenging times we're facing. That's why we've chosen to do this today. Some people are facing really significant personal obstacles. Others grappling with national and global crises. And many people are simply trying to manage their everyday life. So what Angela, Annemarie, and I, what we intend to do today, we want to equip you with some practical tools that you can use to navigate these difficult times. Angela is going to share with you some really proven methods on mindfulness and wisdom teachings. Some of you may be particularly concerned about the upcoming United States elections and transfer of power, along with, what sometimes appears to be national and global divisiveness. Annemarie and her expertise is going to share some hands-on action you can take to make a real positive impact. And then I'll follow, sharing with you some of the Julian teachings that can help us through these times, along with some things that I've added that I found particularly useful. We'll end with a really powerful Julian meditation to help remind us of who we really are. And that meditation will be done in my voice because the original meditation is just a little bit hard to hear in a Zoom environment. And then, as Jan said, we'll open it up to your questions. So we ask that you hold your questions until then. All right, let's begin with Angela.
Okay, well, thank you. And it's so great to see some familiar faces and some new faces. And as Camille said, I'm delighted to be here to be in service, to share some tools that might help us navigate some of these challenging times. And challenging times they are. We know that we are in a time of transition. We're moving from one age to another. And as we know, these transitions can often be accompanied by challenge and chaos. The challenges that we face could be personal, shared collectively, or both. And we know that it can increase stress, sometimes despair. It can emotionally deplete us. And we also know that when we're in these states, we're less resilient and we feel less empowered. However, a couple of things. We know on a spiritual level that we've accepted to be on earth at this time, right? We also know that we have powerful tools to help us successfully navigate what challenges us and also impact the world in a positive way. The simple tools that I'll be sharing with you come from the disciplines, as Camille mentioned, mindfulness, as well as positive psychology. But before we move on to the specific recommendations, I'd like to invite you to just take a moment in community to reflect on what's most challenging in your life right now. So maybe taking a deep breath and going within just to think about what comes to mind with a challenge that you're dealing with either personally or externally. What are you trying to navigate right now? What are you trying to make sense of, maybe? What are you trying to overcome? And so I'm curious, as a part of this very brief reflection, what's come up for you? And if you're comfortable sharing your challenge, I'd invite you to come up with maybe the challenge of coming up with one word that describes what you're going through. And if you're comfortable, to put it into the chat. It's kind of nice to normalize what we're all feeling by just sharing what we're each going through in community, in this safe space, in this community. So if you're comfortable, I'll take a look at the chat and see what comes up. Oh, patience, yes. Yeah, there's so many things, that patience is on an internal level, patience with ourselves, patience with others. The election, of course, security, engagement, family, yeah. Patience as well. Sorry, yes. Yeah, there's a broad range of things that as we consider what challenges us, there's things that we can control and things that are really out of our control, right? As we look at this, and we know that none of us is immune from challenges. And I think that in some ways is comforting. And focusing on the things that we can control is a way of navigating this, right? So controlling how we interact and bring our attention into the present moment, which is what mindfulness is about, and also how we choose to respond to situations in the present moment also impacts our lived experience of the moment. So as we think about these different challenges and think about how we can cultivate this positive mindset and present moment awareness, I wanted to share with you some really quick, often obvious tools that you're probably already doing, but are worth mentioning as we are all going through these times together. And so what I'm going to do is share my screen. So one moment here. Share the screen. And, when we talk about coming into the present moment, what happens when we come into this present moment and we give ourselves some space between our thoughts, because what gets in front of us in the present moment or in the way of the present moment is what we're thinking. Maybe we're thinking about what could happen in the future, or we're thinking about a stressful situation. We're thinking or worrying about something that might happen that hasn't happened yet. So all of those things are taking us out of the present moment. And because we know, as a part of this community, that thoughts are embodied and what we think impacts what we create. And that is the most important thing about navigating these challenges, is how can we come into the present moment and know that we can reduce our stress and build resilience. And here are the 3 earth-shattering things that you can do. The first is to meditate. And I know we all meditate here. I would ask you to take a look at, how are you meditating in the morning, in the evening, during the day? Are you committed to your practice? We know that meditation is a proven way to reduce stress, to alleviate or elevate your mood, and to come into the present moment. So one of the things, the best things that you can do as an elixir, is to meditate daily. Set up your day for success, thinking about how you would like the day to go, maybe using an affirmation. And many of you, again, I know being a part of this community, are doing these things, but just a reminder to formalize it if you haven't, but a wonderful, powerful thing that you can do. The second thing is to ground in nature using the senses. And maybe right now you can just take a moment to bring your fingertips together, your forefinger and your middle finger, and just close your eyes and breathe as you feel your sense of touch here. And just simply doing that for maybe 30 seconds grounds us in this present moment. So just imagine going into nature and feeling the breeze or the sunshine on your face, or using the sense of smell to notice what's happening in the garden or what's happening on the streets if you live in a city, using the sense of sound, the sense of taste when we're eating our food. Yeah, so using the senses are a very powerful way to come into the present moment and also to calm the nervous system. The next thing that we can do to reduce stress and build resilience is to schedule mindful pauses throughout the day. A lot of times, if we're busy, we've got so much going on that we get ahead of ourselves. If you're working, you might be in one meeting and already thinking about the next meeting. Or if you've got a busy day, sometimes we're not present in the activity that we're doing 100%. We're thinking about the next thing. And so the best thing that you can do is during times of transition, let's say, maybe before starting a project or the workday, to take a mindful pause. Notice where your thoughts are. Notice, are you present? What are the emotions? And just breathe. It takes a few seconds. Hold your fingers together, just a few seconds to calm yourself, clear your mind, and then move on to the next activity. And this could be done before lunch, after lunch, before a meal, after a meal, at the end of the day. Just scheduling, being intentional about taking these mindful pauses is going to really help a lot as we navigate challenging health issues, relationships, what's going on in the world. Next, to increase positive emotions and shift our perspective, and these come from the discipline of positive psychology. One of the things that you can do that's very powerful, and we're probably already doing this already, is 5 small acts of kindness each day. Does it have to be 5? No, it could be 3. But again, these are small acts. These are letting someone in the grocery line ahead of you. These are a quick text to someone you haven't spoken to in a while and sending them your love. Really small things that are nothing to do. They don't cost anything. They just take intention and the willingness to do it. And it creates this reciprocal good feeling for the person that you're doing it for and for you. It raises your vibration as you do these tiny acts of kindness. The next thing is to consume what nourishes you, both mind and body. And here we think about taking in a proper diet, of healthful fruits and vegetables and trying to eat in a way that makes our bodies feel good. Equally important is to consume things or not consume things that are not nourishing for our minds. And here I'm being specific about social media, the news, to really be mindful on how we curate what we're taking in to our minds, because as you know, what we bring into our minds is manifest in the body. And so notice how you feel after watching the news or after spending time on social media. Tune into your bodies. And if it doesn't feel good, cut it out, tailor it back. And really be mindful about what you choose to consume, particularly at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. Remember, starting the day for success. And I know sometimes this is about breaking habits, but if it's not nourishing, really give it some consideration on whether you want to continue to bring it into your life. The next thing is another proven practice that I'm sure we've all done in the past or are still currently doing, and that is practicing gratitude. That is a powerful, proven way to shift our perspective and to bring us into the present moment. It lifts our mood. It makes us oriented outside of ourselves. And whether it's a formal practice at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, or bringing it into a mindful pause, just noticing what's going well. What are you grateful for? And as we know, gratitude is also gives a ripple effect. So these acts not only improve our own well-being, but also help to change the world around us. And the final recommendation that I have for you today is to join groups that bring you joy. So maybe there's something you've been wanting to get involved with in your community that you think would be joyful. Um, do it. You know, these are times to take action, and actions for self-care and also doing things for those around you. And on the flip side of this, if there are groups that you're a part of that are depleting or don't bring you joy, really evaluate those things. You know, do you need those in your life? Could you scale those things back? So those are the things that I have for you, both to use mindfulness to reduce stress and increase resilience, and also these positive acts that can help to boost your emotions, your vibration, and shift your perspective, because our teachings show that as within, so without. When you feel good, you do good. So I want to leave you with those final words before I hand it over to Camille, and I look forward to any questions that you might have about this at the end of our talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. And I think we're going to go ahead and move that right over to Annemarie, but you provided some really great tools and techniques. You packed a lot of information in a very short, concise amount of time. Thank you. Annemarie?
Yeah, hi. Oops. Thank you all for being here and having me here. And just building on what Angela said, I think a couple things struck me as building on acts of kindness and consuming what nourishes you. And I think in these trying times, a lot of times what nourishes us and what helps us is doing something active. And so, yeah, I think many of us have found that volunteering is an action that will help us deal with our concerns. And volunteering, I think many of you I know are volunteers right here, and we do it at our churches and we do it at our schools. We might have done it at our kids' community events. But what I want to focus on is a little bit here on actions that are more of a political nature. One of the things I've been, like many of you, a volunteer for many, many years, but in the past 8 years, opportunities have arisen that have allowed me to become a little bit more political in my activism. And they were challenging, and I kind of stepped up with a little prodding to take on some leadership roles. And I will encourage you all, if you volunteer in an opportunity comes up, if you can, say yes, and you might benefit personally as well as your community. Camille, if you would like to share the steps. It's kind of a little bit of a laundry list, but it's some of the things that I found to be helpful. You know, if you can volunteer and in a political sense, if you belong to a party, the party, I'm sure, has many, many opportunities for you to go out and knock on doors and help as far as your political party goes. If you want to take on something that is nonpartisan, which I think many of us find more healing, that we're not getting into arguments, we're thinking more of issues and looking at issues that we care very deeply about. There's many nonpartisan groups. I'm sure there's some great local ones that I'm familiar with that are national, that have been established for many, many years, and that are great organizations to associate yourself with, I think, are the League of Women Voters and Common Cause. So if you have any local chapters, you can maybe see what opportunities that they might have to help you volunteer. You don't have to go out knocking on doors. Many of you are very busy. You have a lot of personal concerns, but some things that you can do is to support an issue you care about. I think many of us, when we think of our communities, some might care very deeply about our water quality. Some might care very deeply about the health care that we have or have not. You might feel very deeply, even about the roads in your community, as well as, presidential elections and there's very big national issues to care about as well. But think about these issues, and there's so many of them. Maybe just pick one that's fundamental to you and say, okay, this is going to be my issue that I'm going to care about for this period of time. And look at your representatives, your assembly people, your state senators, your local boards, and see how they stand on the issues that you care about, and write them letters, give them calls. You can write letters to the editor of your newspapers. That is surprisingly an effective way to get your message out, and something that you can just do from home. Many organizations have postcard mailings about issues to get it out, especially right now when we're all going to be voting in November. There's groups that just meet at a coffee shop and address postcards to get them sent out so people know about the issues that are going to be on their ballot. And of course, voting is hugely important right now in the United States, but also worldwide. And as a League of Women Voters, you have to be totally nonpartisan. So it's very nice. You can talk to people just about voting, where right now a lot of people don't even trust our processes for fair elections. If you get involved, you learn about the elections, and you can talk with some personal knowledge on how well the elections are managed in your community. You can do it in your community and in colleges. The college students actually need a lot of help. They're very anxious to vote, but they need to understand the rules of what they can do and they can't do, and you don't want them all to be doing it at the last minute. Poll workers are always in need in our state. I'm sure in your state as well. It's a half day that you can devote if you can, and it's very worthwhile to get out there and see the people in your community to come to vote and see democracy in action. A lot of times people just need rides to the polls. That's another way to volunteer, and it's a small commitment, a one-day commitment for driving people. If there's public forums on the issue that you care about, show up, just show up. I think that's all you need to do to begin with, and learn, and you can ask questions and see if there is further activity for you to participate in. Ask candidates via email, via phone calls, showing up at their forums. What is the stance on the issue that you care about? Let them know that you care about it. Educate yourself on the issues and just basic civics. I mean, there's so much of how our government works that I've learned in the last 8 years just in volunteering. And also really speak up if you have knowledge about a particular thing. A lot of times we're hesitant to say what we know. But I think right now it's kind of a call to action that show up at your community events or your churches and put yourself out there and let people know about something you know about if the opportunity arises. And of course we strive to take ourselves out of the echo chambers we all live in, which is increasing. It's difficult, but we try to be out there in community, and that gives us ways to mix with people that think differently from us. And that's really good when you're issue-based and you're trying to solve. Some of the problems are so difficult, government issues and how democracy is evolving, to talk to people that think differently than you do, because when you get all these ideas together, hopefully we will end up with a much better solution. So that's kind of like my short laundry list of things that you can do. And mainly to conclude, there's a quote I saw from Nelson Henderson, who I just learned about, is a rugby player from like the turn of the century, last century, and he's from Scotland. And he says, the true meaning of life is to plant trees under whose shade you do not expect to sit, which I love it, because just from a practical point of view and metaphorical point of view, it's has a lot of meaning. So now I will turn it over back to Camille, who's going to give us much more details on how to have use the tools that we know.
Well, thank you, Annemarie.
the
That was
Julian
so
community.
helpful. You know, I think we have never talked about getting involved politically in, in a pop-up. And it's not just pertinent to the United States. This is global. I think we're seeing um, some major choices we have globally about the direction that we go, in whatever direction you decide, at least to have it's something you're thinking about and can actively get involved with, which makes a huge difference. So, Annemarie, thank you so much. And what my goal was in presenting my aspect of today is taking a look at what specific Julian teachings can we use to navigate through challenging times. Well, just about all of them, right? I mean, it's just, randomly just pick one and it works. But what I did, and this was not easy, I tried to, hone it down to like 5 big ones that I thought in a nutshell, what can we do to sort of try to wrap our heads around all of this craziness. So here are my thoughts. These are not my thoughts. These are thoughts from Julian. Okay. So can you see my screen? Just a nod, you guys. Okay. So the first thing, and I think he, and this is this kind of stuff Julian talked about again and again and again. He talked about what kind of perspective are you looking at? And I do remember he used this triangle as a diagram. He said that when we function at the ego level, we're in this ukti-muck, like this base of the triangle dealing with earthly emotions. There's fear and there's anger and worry and aggression. And if we can collect ourselves, turn inward, and move to the apex of that triangle, to the high self, we're changing the whole foundation we're standing on. We're viewing it from an entirely different perspective, away from the ukti-muck of the earthly emotions. This is not easy. It takes, remembering to do this. And what I found that has helped me is simply going inside, and it really works. Just say, "High self, be with me now," and just take a minute to let that high self flood you and give you whatever it is that you need at that moment to address whatever it is. So stopping and just saying, "High self, be with me now." The other, tried and true, meditation. When we meditate, we flood ourselves with the energy of the high self, and then it feeds us throughout the day. The second is to recognize, as Julian said over and over again, we're in the process of evolving. We are all going to get there, we're all going to get there. It's going to take time. Some people are going to go more quickly than others. Some are going to go kicking and screaming, as Julian said, but we are all moving towards a future of peace. And one of the things Julian said is this has been decreed. It's been decreed by universal consciousness that our future is one of peace, brotherhood, and sisterhood. And, I thought about this and I thought, gravity is this invisible, inescapable force, right? Nothing we can do. We live in a world of gravity and it's a force that inclines us. And interestingly, when I studied what gravity does, the force of gravity draws things together. That's what gravity does. It draws things together. And I thought, well, isn't that an interesting template for what the divine force is doing? Because we are all inescapably drawn to return home to source. And as we return home, we're going to increase in vibration. So we're all going there. And if we can remember that, evolution is slow, but sure. So talking about vibration, it's really difficult to see this hatred and vitriol that we're seeing. But if we can remember that the purpose of this, and Julian told us this time and time again, it's got to come up to the surface to be purged. You can't heal, you can't change what you don't know is there. We can't address what we're not aware of. So what Julian told us again, often, he said, in the new age, the energy of hatred will not be tolerated. It can't function. Hatred will either self-destruct, be destroyed, or nature will intervene. And I thought, well, how is that possible? Well, if you think about water in its most low vibration, it's ice, right? And if you think about the energy of the sun, that is an energy that's vibrating very, very rapidly. Well, if you put that low vibration water, ice, in the sun, what happens? It melts, it becomes gaseous, and then it evaporates. Ice simply cannot exist in the high vibration of the sun. And I believe that's the same principle of hatred not existing in the vibrational energies that we're going to. So this trust and belief and faith and deep knowing in the very bones of our being, no doubt, that we're moving to a place of peace, brotherhood, sisterhood, where kindness is going to be the mark of humanity. As Angela talked about and Annemarie talked about in getting involved, starting or joining a study group. Julian spoke about the importance of getting together with others. If you're not receiving the Ring of Light newsletter, what I strongly urge you to do is go to the julianteachings.com website, sign up for the Ring of Light newsletter, and you'll get all kinds of assistance on starting a study group, starting a meditation group. Andrea Smith, I don't know if she's here with us today, but Andrea Smith and I will be your go-to people. We'll help you in any way we can. Start up a group, sustain a group. Saul, dear kind man that he is, has said anyone who is willing to start up a meditation group, he will gift Julian's booklet, Introduction to Meditation, on. If you're going to start a study group, the facilitator can receive the Julian teachings either by recording or transcript or both at no cost. And you might want to switch facilitators with each study you take, so each facilitator can get that material at no cost. Then practice a spiritual routine to start the day. So let me tell you how this started for me. When I worked at Catholic Charities and I had to investigate a child abuse allegation at a foster home, it was really awful. It was emotionally incredibly painful. And I remember driving to one, and it was so stressful. And I just, the kid doesn't want to talk. The kid is scared. The foster parents don't want to reveal a thing. And I'm driving to this place just dreading, this is just going to be such a tough day. And then I saw this thought form I just created. I was like, my God, this is the thought form that you want to enter this investigation in? It was such an eye-opening. So I just cancel. Whoa, we're not doing that anymore. And I immediately came up with these words that, wait a minute, right then and there, today is going to be a perfect day, filled with joy and laughter, maybe not during the investigation, but joy and laughter is going to be mine today, with productivity and rightful outcome. Today will be a perfect day, filled with joy and laughter, productivity, and rightful outcome. So be it. The energy completely shifted. This is a true story. I go to the foster home. The foster parent readily admits what they had done. They said that's how they were raised. They turned in their license. The child was moved to a safe home. The parents cooperated with the investigation. I couldn't have written a better scenario. I couldn't have dreamed of a better scenario. And what that taught me was, this is a statement I now use every day. Before I get out of bed in the morning, you're kind of thinking, is this Saturday? Do I have something to do? Or is this Sunday? Is there group or whatever? Mine is, wait a minute. Before I get out, I want a thought form that I'm actually going to step into. that it's, you know what, it's going to be a perfect day. Some people say, I can't say perfect, it'll be a great day, whatever works for you. And whatever it is you want that day to hold for you, but it's filled with joy, laughter, productivity, and rightful outcome. And so what I did, I combined that with what Julian provided. I don't know if you guys remember, but Julian gave us a morning candlelight ceremony. Let me share it with you. Tell me when you can see this, just a nod. Okay, good. So in very simple terms, this is what I call to begin my day. And I've printed out a couple of copies of this, and I have it in a couple of different places in my home, kitchen table where I have my coffee. Sometimes I put it in this spot I meditate in. And I have a couple of God candles. And remember, a God candle is to be used simply to call forth the power and presence of the divine. I use the term God, I use the term creator, but you know, you work with whatever speaks to you. So as I've said, immediately I set up the day with that statement. And so that's the thought form I'm walking into to the day. So then I go brush my teeth, whatever, and go to my God candle. And this is the statement Julian recommended. He recommended lighting your God candle, stating, I call forth the power of divine space. I permit it to be mine. And then you light the candle and gaze at it, stating, I am light, I am love, I am power. This triad is perfection and shall encompass and fill me and guide me throughout the day. For the Creator and I are one in all things and all ways. I am light, I am love, and I am power, and I share. So be it. It's just beautiful. And then I go into my quiet meditation, 20 minutes. I set my timer. When I'm done, I have my healing list. So for me, I raise the energy, send it to the healing list, or sometimes if there's someone who needs special healing, you know, I'll spend a focus on that, send in for healing to the list that the healing sends out. Then I have a little notebook and I write down 3 things I'm grateful for, going back to the benefits Angela has talked about. And sometimes what I'll do, because I've got this notebook, I write down my 3 things I'm grateful for, and I might ask my high self, do you have any guidance for me today? Is there any statement or something that the high self, and sometimes the high self will come through. By the way, this process takes, with the 20-minute meditation, half-hour tops. Sounds lengthy, but it's not, okay? Then I set up my intentions for the day. Sometime next year, Annemarie, Angela, and I are going to talk with you about our weekly meetings that we call our Maven meetings. And one of those things that we do is establish goals for the year. And so, and some of my goals are working on certain character traits. So I take a look at my goals and I make a goal for the day. That might be make a phone call to someone I haven't talked to in a while, or just imbue our home with love and light. Character trait, maybe I want to work on responding, not reacting. Maybe I want to work on patience, whatever that might be. And then this has been a game changer, you guys. I set my phone timer for 10 a.m., noon, and 3 o'clock. It's a reminder for me to check in with my high self and then say, hey, have I done anything to meet my goal? How am I doing on my character work? Truly, this has made a huge difference in my life. I follow it with a healing affirmation. This has come from the morning candlelight ceremony from Julian. This one I took from Julian, but sort of tweaked it for myself. And by the way, this to begin my day document is going to be in a document format. It'll be available on the Julian Teachings website under resources. And if you want, you can cut it, paste it, and then tweak it to meet your own needs. All right. So the healing affirmation I use is God is my source of all supply and answers my every need. For all the rest of my days, joy and fulfillment are mine. Kindness and love flow from me and to me. Thus, It's with a great dance of life that I move forward, for I know that I will have all that I need in every form, for I am about my Creator's work. I'm a beautiful spirit with the courage to be, so be it. And then you extinguish the candle with the thought, love, light, and power. Follow this flame in its most delicate form. Hear my vision, my sight, my thoughts as you lift them to the higher space. So be it. Pretty powerful stuff from our dear Julian. All right, shall we go into a meditation? If anyone wants to take a little sip of water, this meditation is just over 7 minutes. Like I've said, it's a Julian meditation. It'll be in my voice. I'm not a tech pro, so you're going to see my iTunes screen on your, on the video, but I think you'll enjoy this meditation. You may need to turn your volume up. You know what? I think I forgot to share my, hold on a second. I think I forgot to share my audio. Yep. Okay. Experiencing ourselves as light. And I want you to take a deep breath. And at your own pace, I want you to breathe in peace and harmony. And breathe out all doubts and tensions. Breathing in peace and harmony. And breathing out all fears and anxieties. Breathing in peace and harmony, and breathing out peace and harmony. And just for one moment, I want you to feel your own energy. I want you to feel it. I want you to greet it as a friend. I want you to sense that no matter what the ego, the mind, or the emotions have created with this energy, it no longer matters. I want you to permit yourself to slip your limitations, those narrow confines of yourself that block you and narrow your reality. Joyously love the being you are. I want you to feel well up in you pure light, radiating love and opening you to the joy of yourself. As this light grows, it removes you from all judgment against another. All judgment against yourself. It strengthens the reality of you. Differences of opinion will not count. You are a divine being of God, filled with light and love
and shall weave a tapestry of light and love in all you do. No differences shall bring you down, for in the point of light there is the sameness that you can see in all you meet. Through that point of light within you, you see the light in others. Blockages fall, and joyous acceptance of who you are is. Joyously accept the being that you are. Joyously see the light in others. And in your mind's eye, I want you to reach out and take the hands of those in this group. You form a circle. And I want you to repeat these words out loud. By the light within me, I see the light in you. By the love within me, I feel the love in you. Light and love shall guide me. Light and love shall comfort me. Light and love shall let me see that you and I are one. And our oneness shall bring light. Wholeness and health are ours. Light and love shall rule. So be it. And now I say to you, you are light and you are love. You are separate and you are one. And in this pattern shall be found peace and all that leads to oneness in the universe. You are instruments of light, instruments of love, and are weaving together a beautiful tapestry of peace. So be it. And now, my friends, take a deep breath and permit yourself to return to this space.
Well, we thank you, Julian. That was a beautiful remembrance of who we are and what our power is. And so as we wrap up today, we're going to open it up to your questions, but I just want to share that part of my method of navigating challenges is to be with people that I love. And it brings me great joy to be with all of you. And, I say, let's create more joy. Joy isn't just a feel-good emotion. Joy is a medicine. Joy is needed in our world today, and every single one of us can be a co-creator of joy. So thank you. So let's open it up to questions. And
Wait.
Jan, can I turn this over to you? Shall we, you want to do this in the chat room?
I would say either way, mostly thank yous. And there are a bunch of people who would like to receive those handouts, and I just want to tell everybody that we will make sure that there'll be both a e-blast to the list that has links to where the recording is and links to these documents, but also they'll be on the website, so you'll be able to find them there. And any other questions? And like I say, go ahead, and I think you can probably just unclick yourself if you want to ask a question too.
I would like to share something if possible. I'll try not to take too long so that others can speak. Is it okay if I share something? Okay. My husband and I went on a long cruise this year to celebrate our 50th anniversary. We were gone 100 days. I know that I'm very grateful for that. I know most people can't do that. But what I came back with was life-changing. I went to see how different people live, different cultures. And I want to take away that different out of there, because what I came home with was how the same we are. I was in one country and I was talking to the guide, and I noticed that on a 2-block radius, there was a Muslim mosque, a Jewish temple, a Christian church, a Catholic church, a Buddhist temple, and a Hindu temple, all within 2 blocks. And there was no fighting. And I asked him about this. I said, do you have problems, when people have their services and coming out of the various temples? And he said, no. Many of us go out for a beer after, those who drink, or many of us socialize. We don't have a problem. We accept that we have different belief systems, but we're still friends. And that was like a godsmack to me, because I thought of the Middle East. And how does one bring that over to the Middle East? I guess with this group and our light, maybe we can, because the acceptance, the non-judgmental attitude, and I know he was a tour guide and he had to say what he had to say, but I really believe he was sincere. I mean, otherwise there would not be all these churches and temples within 2 blocks. They'd be bombed away. So I went there to see the differences in cultures, and I came home with the sameness of our spirit. It's the politicians, it's the leaders that try to get us to hate each other. And we're very much the same. We want to pay our bills. We want our children to have as good as we can provide. We want food and security. I don't think the majority of humanity wants to go out and kill others. And that's what I came back from. It was such a gift to come back with this total change in belief. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Donna. It's really heartwarming to hear that.
Can I add a comment? I just want to say, I'm writing my book on healing energy, that whenever I'm with someone and I see a conflict or whatever, I send the energy out. And I talk to the energy, the light, help me, bring it there, and start realizing no matter where you're at, things can open up. Right now, I'm still in rehab, but like for groups I want to become, I send the energy to. I like playing the flute, swimming, so I see myself a part of those groups later. And the other things that we can participate in, right now, I can't participate in them, but I can send the energy there, and that energy will be there for them. Just know that whatever you want, send it continuously, even if you're just walking or looking at something else. The universal energy is there for you. We were created with the universal energy, yin and yang, so it's there with you. And I love the way you talk about focusing on the day, the week. So what if it's a Monday? It's still going to be great. No matter what, I have this conference coming up. It's going to be great. I would like to participate or do this. Let the energy guide you and listen within. It'll show you the words, the thoughts to manifest and to guide you into your
Thank you, Carol.
goals.
I think we're at 1 o'clock now, so we want to thank those who need to go. I know some people may need to sign off.
I just want to ask one question.
Yeah, but Mary Ellen, we are going to be here. Angela and
Oh.
Annemarie and I and Jan will stay for another 15 minutes or so. So we're not signing off, but I just wanted to, if you do have to sign off, those of you who do, thank you.
Camille, I'd like to share something that Julian had given us in the year
Okay.
2000.
And then we'll go to Mary Ellen.
And one of the greatest problems in health areas is fear. Fear of failing, fear of success, fear of making a mistake. Mistakes are part of evolution too. Learn from them and use them as a stepping stone to something else. Whatever happened, happened. You can't change that, but you can change the degree of power that it has over you. Learn from it and move on. Practice the art of handling what you can handle right now. Break down the overwhelming whole into smaller parts. Then work on one part at a time. Worrying about the whole thing hinders the ability to solve it. When any part is solved, it alters the outcome of the whole. Worry and stress break down the whole aspect of your health. When you work with it, facet by facet, you are controlling it rather than letting it control you. Remember that what you think becomes your reality. Direct the thoughts to positive, progressive things. Use mental imagery to bring change. Affirm the power of you in a changing universe.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. The wisdom of an angel, archangel, seraphim.
Who is that?
Mary Ellen, you had a comment?
Yeah, thank you, Saul. That was really great. Yeah, I wanted you to talk about, if you don't mind, for just a couple minutes. You yourself, Camille, talk about your philosophy of being on social media. Okay. How, I know you always you hold yourself with high regard and respect, and not I don't mean it that way. What I mean is I have a lot of respect in how you hold yourself on social media. You are restrained, you are I have reactions to things that people post, and sometimes I find myself weekly answering it, getting involved in it, becoming unbalanced. And, part of this today was great because you talked about balance, how to balance yourself every day, how to have a thought when you wake up and go into the thought and all that. But just wanted to see what you had to say about your presence on social media and how we should guide ourselves on being in social media in the most spiritual and positive way.
Well, thank you for that question. And I'm going to also ask Angela and Annemarie to share their perspective. But for me, it is a way of spreading positivity. I mean, that's really what it is.
Okay.
I don't need to, I don't feel a need to argue, it's to support people, to send love, to send light. Honestly, I use that as a vehicle to basically send support, love, and light. That's really what it is in a nutshell.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, but then you see the hatred, right? And
Well,
you don't,
sometimes
it's
you
hard,
right?
you know.
Sometimes you block them. Some things I can't see. Some things I block. So certain things that I don't want in, as Angela was talking about, what are we feeding ourselves? Certain things I just don't, I'll block that person. But
Right.
Angela, do you have comments?
Just echo what you're saying, and I advocate, and people who come to, mindfulness, one of the big things that we do talk about is really doing a social media cleanse. Really taking a look at who is on your feeds, who nourishes you and who depletes you. And be bold, block people. I have no problem blocking things that don't serve the greater good. And I think that's how we need to orient. This is a personal philosophy of how to orient ourselves or myself in social media. And I'm very limited on my exposure in social media, as my friends know. So if So I stay off it honestly because I'm an empath. I take it on
Me too.
and I feel it.
Me
And
too.
so if that's you, you gotta get off. You really do, or really limit who you interact with and why you're interacting. And you just turn it off. And believe me, you do it long enough, you won't miss it. You'll get nourishment and positivity from other things in your life. And you realize how much of your life you're giving away
Mhm.
by being on things that don't nourish you. So that's
You will find new ways, new focuses to give you that support.
100%, 100%. It takes courage, there's the FOMO, there's the habit, breaking a habit is never easy. And we do get into this habit, we know from studies that, every time you're on social media, you get a like, it's like a dopamine hit to the brain, and that just reinforces the next interaction and it becomes like an addiction. So it's important to take a look at these behaviors and see whether or not they're serving you and what kind of changes you're comfortable making, baby steps.
Mhm.
Do what nourishes you. Replace it with something that nourishes you.
Thank you, Angela.
You
Just
are
know you've got
welcome.
the energy within and just send it to that which is around you.
Yeah.
Right. I have one more question, and that is, I think Saul may have told me this in a class, and I think by hating somebody, you actually strengthen them somehow. Is that true?
I think the energy turns into them. Yeah,
Well,
when you
the things Julian talked about.
Okay, what is it? Can you explain the concept, please?
What he says is a negative sent to a negative only enhances it.
Okay. Oh, okay. So it actually adds to it.
That's right. A positive,
Okay, very good to know. Thank you.
Mary Ellen, there's a second half to it.
Sure.
A positive sent to the negative diminishes it.
Mhm.
Hugely important.
Thank you. That is really very helpful. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? You just open up mic,
I just want to add something to Mary Ellen's question. I remember one time Julian said to me that in the business environment, you may have people that you have an aversion towards or do not have a positive feeling about. He said, what you should do is pick something about that individual that you like. For example, if the person is wearing shoes that you appreciate or like, focus on that as a positive and gradually what will happen is that positive energy will begin to change the reaction that you have to that individual as well as the reaction that that individual has towards you. So it's little steps that have a major change in the way a person reacts to you and you reacting to a person.
very good point.
I have one little
Yeah,
practice.
Julian told me that too. Yeah.
Camille, if I could share, just building on what Saul said, one of the things from the mindfulness realm is a loving kindness meditation. So when you send loving kindness to this person who's the challenge, you're actually softening your heart. You're basically softening your heart and you're allowing for whoever this person is, it's like an equalizer. As Donna was saying, we're all want the same things. And when we bring them into a loving kindness meditation, we realize that yes, in fact, we all want to be happy. We all want to have peace. We all want to be loved. We all want to be happy. So that's just a mindfulness practice that's very helpful and kind of bringing equilibrium to disconcerting relationships.
And when you send that energy out to anybody, it helps the universe in all ways. It brings more balance.
I'd like to share off of what Angela is just talking about here on that mindfulness, the loving kindness meditation. Just a really interesting thing happened. You send loving kindness to someone you love, and then you send it to someone that you really don't know, and then you send it to someone, that you don't know well, and then you send it to someone you're struggling with. So there was this checkout person at our local grocery store that was just incredibly nasty. It's very difficult for me to deal with. And I, had her was in her checkout lane more than not. So I did that meditation and she was the one I was struggling with. It was just I bid you peace. I bid, the statements that you make, I wish you well. So the next time I went to the grocery store, I go through her line again and did my shopping. She's, bagged everything up. I helped. And she handed me a bouquet of flowers and said, a customer left this hours ago. They're not going to pick them up. I guess these are for you. Isn't that interesting? And isn't that interesting? The situation, it just, I'll leave it with that. It's very
It
cool.
happens all the time with that energy, all the time.
It comes back to you.
It
What you
does.
send out,
Very
that's what
sweet.
Julian said. What you send out comes back to roost.
Any other comments, questions before we wrap up for the day?
I just want to say I'm writing my book on energy and all. I just want to say whenever there's anything you see anywhere, send that light and love out there. They may not understand it. And when I was talking to somebody on the phone last night, is like, I didn't like what was going on. I just called the energy, help me, give me a thought to do something. And a new thought came and I set it out and it worked. But just see the universe in that light and energy, and it's always there for you.
And it always works. Thank you.
Yep.
I have a question.
Zelda, you had
Yeah, I wanted to find out, I think I understood that this session will be available on
Yes.
recording,
Dan, you want to share how they can get a hold of that?
the whole
Yeah,
recording.
there'll be two things. There'll be, if you're on the Julian Teachings mailing list, there will be an e-blast that goes out to everybody with the link to it and a link to the resources. And then if you aren't on that list or you miss it for some reason, it will be on the Julian Teachings site, I believe under pop-ups. And there'll be a link both to the recording and to the resources there also.
Thank you.
And Patricia, did you have a question?
Yes. Do you have a good affirmation or a way to look at all the climate changes? Because like I'm in Albany, New York right now, but I'm going back to Florida, which is kind of my main home now. And there's there's a threat of a hurricane this weekend. And sometimes it's been really devastating in my area. And it does cause worry. And is there a positive way to affirm or look at that, so even to lessen the climate changes so they don't affect people, or anything you have about that, because I know that's a source of worry.
One of the things Julian talked about again and again is accepting where we're at and then building a bridge with our words to where we want to go. So, and that's really what affirmations are about. And so to say, every day in every way, our weather is coming to a point of balance. Thank you, Creator, that this is so. Something simple, and Patricia, you can add to that or change that any way you want, but something simple. And I do want to mention something else that again is going to be in the ring of light. We have an affirmations project that's underway. We're asking everyone that received a Julian affirmation, if it's something you're willing to share in your private readings, please. Saul, are you the one they're sending them to?
Yes.
And Saul will compile them.
Yeah. I'm going through all of the development classes right now and gathering all the affirmations that we receive throughout the years. And there's like 278 classes as well as the Magus classes. And Susan has been working on some of the workshops, and she's been sending me affirmations that are included in some of the workshops already. So, and if anybody has a affirmation that they receive through a personal reading with Julian, please, if you're willing to share it, send it to me and they'll be incorporated in the list of affirmations that we've been compiling.
Can I just comment real quick about the natural environment? Send your energy out there too. It's not just for people and just situations. I remember Julian saying your thoughts affect the vibrations around you. So you may not be able to control it completely, but start sending that healing energy, that light in a positive feeling towards it, and it can help balance once in a while.
Thank you, Carol.
Camille, can you repeat that affirmation you said? Every day in every way, our weather is
It-
coming,
I think I said is returning to balance.
turning. Okay, thank you.
But again, it'll be on the recording. Well, on that, I think we will wrap up for today. Thank you all so very much for being here. Jan,
Thank you.
support, Angela, Annemarie. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
And great to be
Much
with you all.
appreciated. Love it.
And Camille, you
you.
can
Thank you,
contact
Camille.
me later on, tomorrow, Tuesday, whenever you feel you want to chat.
You are saying that to me?
Yes.
Okay, sure. I'd love
Yeah.
to.